están relacionados en este hito, y desde donde se orienta principalmente el desarrollo del hito es del módulo de orientación de estudiantes de educación básica, ¿ya? Y desde ahí es donde se debe establecer un eje temático para trabajar algunos de los temas que se abordan dentro del programa, dentro de ese eje, dentro del programa. ¿Ya? Entonces, a partir de ahí, ustedes lo relacionan con su práctica, que es el módulo que tienen de práctica intensiva 2, y a su vez desarrollan la investigación desde lo trabajado con la profesora Paula en el módulo de investigación. ¿Ya? Entonces, ¿por qué nos convoca hoy? Y también es que tenemos coordinado, establecido para este viernes el tema de la presentación de un primer avance de este trabajo de hito evaluativo. Ya, primer avance para que no se asusten, muy general, que ya lo que va a obligar a ustedes es que tomen ciertas decisiones. ¿Y en qué sentido qué decisiones? Ya trabajar qué eje van a establecer como para identificar un problema desde la asignatura de orientación y a partir de ahí seleccionar una propuesta de mejora que ustedes identifiquen. Miren, a partir de este eje vamos a trabajar tal problema porque eso es pertinente para el colegio, para la práctica, y con la profesora Paula verán el sustento teórico o cómo darle de alguna manera relevancia a ese proceso investigativo, ¿ya? Entonces es muy general, pero también tenemos establecido estos avances, producto de que buscamos también que ustedes se sientan acompañados en este proceso, pero también un poco presionados a iniciar el trabajo desde ya para que no sea una presión al término del semestre y sea un trabajo que se realice más bien, listo, estoy presionado por una nota, por cumplir, y no se aborde con la profundidad necesaria que les permita desarrollar un aprendizaje, producto que no se ha trabajado durante el semestre. ¿Ya? Entonces, nos vamos a reunir los tres profesores con ustedes el día viernes, los tres profes responsables de los módulos, y les vamos a pedir un poco que cada equipo de trabajo, que es lo que yo les voy a pedir que me digan hoy, es asignarles un tiempo de 10 minutos para su presentación y 5 minutos para preguntas, para conversar respecto de lo que nosotros les podemos sugerir en base a lo que ustedes nos vayan comentando. Si hay un grupo que dice, todavía tengo dudas, todavía tengo dos ideas, es válido de presentar, lo importante es aprovechar estos tiempos de los avances, ¿ya? Porque así ustedes tienen la retroalimentación inmediata de sus tres profesores quienes los van a acompañar en este proceso, ¿ya? No sé si tienen alguna duda, alguna
Entonces,
consulta.
para el viernes es
Sí.
first meeting. Tenemos la primera reunión por la evaluación integrada el viernes.
Sí.
Yes. What do we
Ustedes se
need? So,
preguntarán.
es a general discussion, pero ¿qué tienen
Sí.
que traer ellos, profesor?
Ya, en este caso es la selección del eje temático en el que van a trabajar de la asignatura de orientación, en qué eje temático van a trabajar su propuesta de mejora en el aula. ¿Ya? Y en qué nivel lo van a trabajar dentro del colegio y un poco el contexto del establecimiento también.
Orientación. En español, orientación. Eje temático, selección de eje temático y
¿Sí?
selección de contexto.
El contexto y el nivel en cual ellos podrían trabajar el tema que han seleccionado. Yo sé, se deben estar preguntando por qué el viernes. Te van a decir, nosotros ahora los viernes tenemos ciencia. ¿Se acuerdan que al inicio hubieron problemas con el tema de los horarios? Y estas fechas, que todo esto es lo voy a decir colegiado, acordado en conjunto con los 3 profesores del módulo. Entonces esta coordinación se produjo antes de que se evidenciaran los problemas de los horarios, y por eso es el tema de la presentación es el viernes en el tercer bloque. Entonces nosotros partiríamos lo que hoy es ciencia en lo de orientación, pero ya mañana yo...
¿Qué hora es
si no me equivoco es 10 para las 11.
Okay. Entonces,
Si no me equivoco, siempre recurro al Excel yo para mirar el horario, profesora Paula. Déjeme, para confirmar, lo voy a mirar inmediatamente. Sí, 10 para las 11.
And then we need the groups. Conformación de los grupos.
Gracias por la traducción, sí.
Sí, el profesor Daniel va a tener que ser co-teaching. Co-teaching y aprender inglés.
Claro, yo todo lo que usted habla en inglés, yo me quedo calladito porque no entiendo nada. Entonces
necesitamos la conformación de los grupos.
Sí, eso lo que nos convoca hoy es importante, es la formación de grupos para establecer un orden de las presentaciones. Como yo le decía, tienen 10 minutos para presentar, comentar las ideas que tengan, 5 minutos de retroalimentación o de preguntas, y eso sería la actividad. Más allá no nos da el tiempo, pero es importante que ustedes sepan que van a haber 3 instancias de presentación y retroalimentación con sus profesores responsables de los módulos.
Sí. Entonces, dejaríamos esta semana los grupos conformados, la selección de eje y contexto y nivel.
Sí.
Luego, en la próxima reunión va a estar centrada en, hablarán con la profesora Karen, se centrarán en el tema de práctica en intensiva 1, y nosotros ya tenemos planificado trabajar en noviembre desde lo que corresponde a nuestra área de la investigación bibliográfica, literaria y demás, y la narración o la escritura académica desde ese punto, para estar presentando el escrito final el 6 de diciembre y la presentación oral el 15.
Sí.
Ese sería el timeline.
Yes.
Perfecto, yes, we agree. We are clear.
Yeah. Entonces, profesora, ¿usted sabe cómo se organizan sus estudiantes para trabajar?
Sí, los grupos cada grupo? Tienen que estar en el mismo colegio o tener una idea común.
O afinidad, porque por afinidad también ellos pueden...
Sí, ellos tienen los grupos de investigación. Yo no sé si esos grupos de investigación repetiríamos esos grupos.
La verdad es que ya habíamos conformado grupos con la profesora Elizabeth.
Ok, pero esos eran del año pasado, claro. En este año, Génesis.
Pueden modificarlo, no es obligación mantenerlo, en esto ustedes son libres.
No, profesora, está hablando de este año, los conformamos al inicio del semestre.
Ok. Y no tienen, en práctica no están en duplas, por lo tanto, no sé, quieren tener un tiempo para discutir este tema de los grupos. Ellos en investigación tienen sus grupos, pero ustedes deciden esto. ¿Tienen luego un momentito de clase con el profesor? ¿Tienen clase luego con el profesor, verdad?
Hoy no.
¿No?
No.
Mañana. Entonces, van a tener que volver a reunirse quizás después de hoy, en algún momento, y el profesor también les va a enviar un artículo sobre los incidentes críticos, que son aquellos incidentes que nos llaman la atención en el medio. Nosotros hemos hablado mucho en investigación acerca de observar el contexto, las situaciones, las contingencias que van sucediendo en el medio en el que nos movemos. Entonces, para alertarlos sobre ese marco teórico, y pueden discutir los grupos entonces esta misma tarde quizás.
Y lo vemos, lo podemos registrar mañana, eso no hay problema.
Pero ya les dejamos con la tarea de empezar a pensar sobre esta temática para, como bien dice profesor trabajar en forma conjunta, acompañada y en proceso, ¿sí? Que no sea de una semana para la otra. Génesis, question.
Sí, el nivel que debemos escoger puede ser de nuestra práctica, o sea, debe ser de nuestra práctica o puede ser otro nivel.
Puede ser otro nivel.
Ah, ya.
Sí.
Así que tienen un tiempito entonces para pensar, tienen el eje,
Sí.
así mañana llegan al profesor, a la clase del profesor con respuestas. Tienen
Sí,
ahí
por eso,
para...
pero
sí.
ya tiene ya planteada la inquietud y
Ujú.
lo que se les va a consultar por lo menos mañana lo de los grupos y, y el viernes nos reuniríamos por turnos en el horario del tercer bloque, de 10 para las 11. Pero yo ya mañana les explico un poco de qué hora sale del viernes, entra el jueves y el cambio. ¿Ya?
Ok.
Ya.
¿Alguna otra inquietud? Ya tienen entonces esta tarea para llegar mañana a la clase del profesor con respuestas y también él va a compartir esta literatura, este artículo para que empiecen a trabajar. Ok,
¿Listo? Muchas
profesor,
gracias. Me
muchas
retiro
gracias por
yo.
la
No les quito
visita.
más tiempo. Listo, que tengan un buen día.
Igual usted,
Listo.
Cuídense.
profesor.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Chao.
Bye
Chao,
bye.
profe.
Chao.
Okay, class, good morning. So this is recorded, so I didn't start recording at the beginning, but welcome everyone, nice to see you, early morning. So this is one of our big tasks this semester, the integrated evaluation. That's why I wanted you to talk to Professor Daniel to talk to us. Since we are together in this big ship, so we need to start together working in that. However, we step a little bit back from the integrated evaluation to talk about our work. Remember, we need to keep connected, working with the tasks and forums that have been created in this module. And this will be step-by-step work towards completing our pre-research projects. Therefore, please check Educandos. You have forums there. The forum today will be created for you to share your presentations and also to share a document that you will that each group will create to provide feedback to classmates. Remember that last semester we did we completed a document giving feedback to our classmates. That was a formal kind of presentation, peer presentation, pre-research presentation a format, very formal. This is a formative peer evaluation for oral expositions. Here we are going to give a rating to our classmates according to their contents, according to the organization of the presentation and the delivery of communication. And there are some questions here that you would like to ask your classmates. Always thinking of what is positive in each group's presentation, yes, and what would you like to probably make a suggestion for improvement. So we always focus on the positive, giving our classmates positive feedback to improve. Okay, so be ready to, we will do in groups, yes? So one person, two people in the group will be paying attention, taking notes to provide this feedback to classmates. On the other hand, you will also see the rubric, so you will have an oral exposition rubric. Above all, above the content, which we know is accurate, you have been reading good bibliography, accurate and precise bibliography in the topics, according to the topics we have been discussing. This oral exposition rubric, which you already know from previous modules, focus on your communication in general, your ability to transmit a message, yes, to complete a task, but also to focus on content and transmit a message, yes. And so take all of my comments in this rubric also as positive comments for improvement, okay? I wanted to show you those two documents. And we will go back to the presentation. Just to always, we always mention the topics related to housekeeping, how we are going, what is it that we need to accomplish. So remember, participation online is an ongoing process. The forum will be created today. As soon as we finish class, the best thing, or this afternoon, is to upload your presentations and your formative comments to your classmates so that we get participating on the platform as much as possible. Today, we will be doing this oral exposition, group work task, and evaluation item. And remember, we are going to start transferring all of our readings and our thought processes to completing the project, our research project, here in yellow. That indicates that the whole month of October will be dedicated to the research project. We will keep on completing it with each new item that we discuss in class. And therefore, we hope that by the end of October, that project will have a new format, new content, much more developed, yes, so that it can be presented also in December, the final version. So any questions in regards? So I think the schedule of modules evaluations is very structured. 1 month to work with our projects, 1 month, that is November, to work with them, integrated evaluation. So I think we have time to dedicate to these 2 projects and have enough time to get to December with good projects, with elements there to be able to show, of course, to present orally and also in writing. Any questions you would like to ask at this point? So as we said, as we were talking to Professor Daniel, you need to think of your groups to work in the evaluation, integrated evaluation. Please think if the same groups will work, but you're absolutely free. So that you can talk about that tomorrow with the professor. So today we have the oral expositions. It's like one exposition but divided in 2. You have one quantitative research design to develop, as well as one qualitative research design to develop. Remember, your insight into these explanations is important for your classmates to focus, yes, whether that is the research design that will fit their projects. So that's why the presentations are important, as well as summaries, all kinds of summaries, and your presentations are kind of summary. Because remember, we have an important question to answer by the end of the presentations. And that is, you need to decide which research design are you finally following in your studies, in your projects. Whether you finally decide about a qualitative research design, or if you decide about a quantitative research design. So remember, we said last week, we're going to have this question to keep on thinking, because that's the focus of all this, of today and all the month of October, because we need to keep making progress in our projects. Already having decided on the methodology, on the research design, we will make a great improvement and make a real step forward into this project. So we will have oral presentations. This is the division of quantitative research designs, where divided like this. We have Araceli, Javier, and Kate presenting on these two experimental designs. Lucas, Genesis, and Liselda, these other two. Barbara and Javiera, Camila and Daniela, and Alejandra and Aileen. These were the quantitative experimental study designs. And the qualitative were divided like this: narrative research, Liselda, Genesis, and Lucas; phenomenological, Araceli, Javiera, and Kate; grounded theory, Camila and Daniela; ethnographic research, Alejandra and Aileen; and case study, Barbara and Javiera. All right, so the idea is for your presentations, as I said, is that you offer your insights, but also you arise the interest of your classmates in saying, oh, this research design is good for my project, for my research questions. And therefore, always keep in mind that we need to work purposefully. Siempre el trabajo del adulto, voy a decirlo en español, tiene que ser a esta altura con un propósito, ¿verdad? Todo lo que leemos estamos pensando constantemente en aplicación directa en nuestro proyecto. Y esa es la manera más productiva, no quiero decir esa palabra, pero la más positiva para aprovechar el tiempo que tenemos, que no es mucho, pero con un sentido propositivo de lo que es aplicable a nuestro proyecto. Entonces, es por eso que necesitamos la atención de todos, las preguntas, vamos a hacer preguntas también. Y cada grupo tiene que poder responder la pregunta de cuál sería este diseño metodológico para cada uno de los proyectos. Okay, so we are not just listening or just, okay, listening with attention, yes, because we need to give feedback, but also because we need to apply this to our future projects, to our research projects in the future. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so we organize the groups for feedback, peer formative evaluation, yes. Peer formative evaluation, sorry. Evaluation, so we have, yes, the groups. The first group is not the order is not relevant, but just to have an order. Araceli, Javiera, and Araceli, Javiera, and Kate will offer feedback to Bárbara and Javiera Labraña. Is that okay? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, Bárbara. I will share with you the document. Oops, sorry. Okay, that's one group. Okay, next group, Bárbara and Javiera offer feedback to Camila and Daniela. All right, Camila and Daniela. Oops, sorry. offer feedback to Liselda, Lucas, and Genesis. Okay, Liselda, Lucas, and Genesis. Alejandra and Eileen. And Eileen. And Alejandra and Eileen offer feedback to Araceli, Javiera, and Kate. And we have all the groups, right? Yes. And we close the circle. Yes.
Miss,
Yes.
where can I find the rubric?
Yes, I will send you via chat now. They will be on Educandos as well.
Okay.
To Araceli, Javiera, and Kate. And we are all here. And Kate. Oh. Okay, so now we will share the documents. Let me have this. So did you have, okay, I will save that. So
Okay.
Javiera and Barbara will start. You will, yes. And, okay. Araceli, Javiera, and Kate. So Araceli and Javiera, who are already on. Please pay attention to give feedback to Barbara and Javiera, okay? So you write there the names of the group members on top. Okay, thank you.
So,
Yes.
have you? Okay. You can hear me?
Yes.
Well,
yes,
okay.
I can hear you.
Good morning, Miss. Good morning, classmate. Today with my partner, Barbara, we will talk about the comparative design and the case study. In the table of contents, in the first part, we will explain about the comparative design. And in the second part, we will talk about the case study. The comparative design is quantitative. This design can be conducted as an experiment or a non-experiment. The study population is divided into the same number of groups. For each group, a baseline is established with respect to the dependent variable. And then, after a period, when the treatment model is taken effect, the after observation is conducted to determine if they can find any change in the dependent variable. And then in the comparative not experimental, can you continue with the PPT? Yes. And the comparative not experimental, the groups that have already had a different intervention are identified, and then the observation is made with respect to the dependent variable. And in this not experimental, the pre-test data is constructed by asking the study population in each group, so they to recall the recurrent information about the period before the introduction of this treatment. And here, to illustrate this, this picture explains the level of understanding of a group of students from 3 different teaching models. You can see A, B, C. And in conclusion, it is said that the difference in teaching model are assumed to be comparable with respect to their original level of understanding topic.
Okay.
And about a case study is a qualitative study design that this case is a specific illustration within a real context or a scenario. And this study has qualitative approach where its case expose a detailed and deep data collection. And about the general aspect of this study, the intention is for expose a unique or unusual case that need to be described for that need exposed to other person for create a new knowledge, expose a specific question, problem, or concern. A good case expose deep data collection and use interview, observation, and document audiovisual material for expose this data collection. The areas where the case study are used or commonly we can find to these studies is in the anthropology, sociology, education, and medicine areas. About the approach study, in order to approach a study, multiple units must be considered. For example, the classroom, then the school. We need understand the school district is a really we need to see everything about the relate to the case, like the more specific and detailed to and go to the general aspect. About the description of the case, the issues to be studied are specific, organized,
Specify.
yes, organized chronologically and similarities are different with other case ourselves. And then conclusion of this study are called statements, explanation, or patterns. About the type of the study, the study exists three variations. The single instrumental case study, where the researcher put his or her focus on an issue and select one bonded case to illustrate these issues. The collective or multiple case study, where the one issue or concern is again selected, but the research select multiple cases to study to illustrate the issues, only for explain with more I don't remember this word, propriety.
Appropriately.
Yeah, appropriately.
Yeah.
No, appropriately, with propiedad, with more.
Yes, property. Yes.
The intrinsic case, where the focus is on the case itself.
Yes.
Example, evaluating a program or studying a student having difficulties. About the procedure or process for conducting of a case study. First, the researchers determine if a case study approach is appropriate for studying the research problem. The second, the researchers need next to identify their case or cases related. 3, the data collection in case study research is typically extensive. I said you that need a very deep data collection, so it's a really hard process. Drawing on multiple sources of information. Then the type of analysis of this data can be holistic analysis of the entire case. We need go more far in this case in this study, and the final interpretative phase, the researchers report the meaning of the case, personal meaning, whether that meaning comes from learning about the issues of the case. The last part is here a personal conclusion.
Yes.
And this was our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, girls. And so if you we go back in the presentation and we have these two, so one quantitative, one qualitative. How can this be used in education? So for example, this comparative design, how can it be used in education? What can you compare in education with this experimental design?
For
example,
maybe we can use the comparative design in public and municipal schools. If we talk about education,
yes,
Or
or maybe
the level of the education. As you can see in the example, explain about 3, I don't know, a group of students.
3 group of students, yes,
Yes,
exactly.
with a level of comprehension. So we can.
Yes, with different interventions. Teaching model A, teaching model B, teaching model C.
yes.
Yes, so this is an interesting design. It takes a lot of time and resources because you need to divide the students in the groups and test them in different groups. So do you think you do this a comparative design in your research study? Any group? Any group was thinking of doing, for example, a comparative research study design? The implementation is rather complex. So you need to have the groups of students and be able to separate them in groups.
Actually, is hard because we need relate. Yeah, we need observe the conclusions, but we need is where the study is developed. So in this instance, we don't make a comparative design. Use the comparative design because pandemic difficult the develop of the study.
The studies. Yes. So yes. And the contingency, all of the experimental designs have been made almost not impossible, but very difficult since we don't have access to group of students, to settings. So think that experimental designs really need a lot of dedication, a research team, people working together and carrying out these experiments. For example, testing the study population at the basic level, then designing and applying interventions, and then testing the study population again. So it really takes time, resources, a whole research team. So just for you to think of this research design, if that is what you want to do for your projects. Just think. The next one, the case study. What do you think of the case study? So you have, so this is very important that you distinguish, yes?
The case study
Yes.
is
You study in the setting, you study the setting. So a case study can be a school, a grade, yes, a one student.
could be interesting, make a case study, but it's only when we find unusual case.
Not only. If you go further, yes, okay. It's one interpretation, Barbara. So we have case studies that are intrinsic. Yes, intrinsic case studies. In medicine, it is very much used with these diseases that are very, very strange. So go further. The next slides. In the next slides, we have the yes. So, or for example, a student who has a very unusual kind of problem, a dyslexic student in a group of students who are not dyslexic. So if you keep on going.
But mine are intrinsic.
Those are intrinsic case studies. Yes, intrinsic.
That's be so
difficult. Yes, that's difficult to find. Yes, exactly. I agree with you. So keep on going. So the unique, unusual, intrinsic case study is very complex to find. Yes, if you go and look for it, that's not the majority of the cases. Next slide. In the next slide, we have the explanation. So we have, yes, here. So we have this intrinsic case and the final explanation here. That's what Barbara was saying. This is difficult to find. This student who has a very specific problem that causes certain situations with learning. That can be one in many, but it's probably we are not seeking for that student. So the intrinsic case study is complex in itself. It can occur a school in a very unusual place or disadvantaged place can also be an intrinsic case study because it has its own characteristics and importance for research. But for example, a program, a teaching program can also be unique because they teach students, I do not know, a school, a Montessori school. That can be an intrinsic case study because it has a very specific characteristics if we are studying that program. However, if you think you have other case studies that can be more applicable. You have the instrumental case study in which we do not, it's a bounded case, but it does not refer to the characteristics of intrinsic case study. So here we can use, we can study a group of people, but in order to learn something about teaching and learning or about a program, their experiences with the program, with an intervention. So the instrumental case study is maybe much more useful in education since you can study a topic by means of using or applying it in a group of people. So for example, if you were doing, I don't know, project-based learning with a group of students, that can be an instrumental case study. So you study your students, yes, by applying that specific methodology. But what you are really studying here is the process of learning, the participation of students, right? And you're learning about some methodology and the process of this methodology by means of using a case, a grade, yes, of students working together. So that can be much more useful, or a collective when we have different cases, yes, multiple case studies to illustrate different classrooms, yes, a classroom with task or project-based learning in school A, in school B, in school C, and you study all of these cases. That can also be more similar to comparative, yes, to the comparative design. So I think case studies, you should pay attention. Yes, go back to Creswell and read case study in case that can be useful for your project. So case studies are very pervasive. Yes, cuando es fácil de aplicar, no exactamente fácil, pero aplicable a muchas situaciones de aula, por ejemplo, en educación, y se usa mucho el estudio de caso. In which case, if we want to study, as I said, an intervention, a methodology, the experiences of students with certain interventions, those can be case studies.
In education,
In
it's
education.
more, yes, it's more not easy, but
No.
it's more
Applicable.
amigable, yeah, because the researcher
Mhm.
could be the teacher.
Yes, exactly.
He is the person
Exactly.
dedicated
Dedicated, yes, dedicated.
to collect the data, and he see he follow,
Yes.
follow, and is the direction, entre comillas, the director of the case.
The
So,
case. Yeah, exactly. So it can be done by teachers, yes, by external researchers, and by teachers. Yes, exactly. So this is very pervasive in education. You will find lots of case studies in education, studying, as I said, instrumental case studies mainly. Yeah, so for example, programs or, as I said, interventions, methodologies, and a group of students in that experience. So pay attention, yes, pay attention. This can be very much used. This is used also in literature, in history, in many, it's a design that is very pervasive in the humanities, in the social studies. In literature, for example, when people study the literature of a certain period, the characteristics of literary works in a period, those can also be case studies. Okay, so it's very much used in humanities in general and social studies. Okay, so keep in mind this research design, yes, and it's adaptable to different situations. So, okay, next, so we said that who was going to offer, yes, Javier Araceli will offer feedback to Barbara, Javier. Okay, next, next group. So be careful, you need to think of possible applications. How would you use it? Would you use it in your research study? If not, if you say, no, this is not for my research study, keep paying attention, okay? I'm going to ask you, all of the groups. Okay, next group. Who would like to?
Miss,
Yes.
Camila and Danny is not here, so we need to.
Yes, Camila was no, Daniela was trying to connect. She told me she had problems with her connection, but
Okay.
okay, so yes, we will organize the feedback. Do not worry. So you will give them feedback when they present. Do not worry.
Okay.
So
Miss.
now, who would like to continue? Griselda, Lucas.
Okay, Miss.
Okay. Griselda.
Lucas.
Okay, so pay attention. I'm going to ask you examples about the designs. Okay. Narrative.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we are going to talk about quantitative and qualitative research in some specific design. Our names are Lucas Mondaca, Giselle de Escobar, and me, Genesis Inostroza.
Okay, the presentation is divided like this. First of all, quantitative research. There we will talk Genesis and Lucas in control group design and double control design, and then qualitative research. There I will talk about narrative research and then the conclusion.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, quantitative research. The control group design, here the researcher selects two population groups. First, we have control group and the experimental group. In the control group, it is not exposed into intervention. The objective of this design is to quantify the impact of extraneous variables. In the experimental group, that it is exposed in the intervention, and in this part, it's necessary to observe and take an action in the consequence. We use experimental group to observe the situation and through the observation. The before observation are made in both groups at the same time, in control and in the experimental group. When the intervention had an impact, and after, as the author mentioned, the observation is made on both groups. The impact of the intervention can be calculated with some arithmetic operations, and that is depending variable.
Yes. So the experimental group is the one that receives the intervention.
Yes.
Yes. And you do before and after. Yes. Evaluations. Yes. Observations. Yeah. This is the control group design, which is very used in not only education, but also medicine. With the vaccines, we have seen this. This type of control of experimental design. So this is very much used in different areas. Medicine, above all in pharmaceutics, en la farmacéutica, that's what I wanted to say. So there, when new medicines are proved to be used later with the population, so they carry out this kind of experimental designs to check the as it says here, the impact of the medication, and that has been transferred to education as well. Okay, yes. This is okay.
Okay, the double control group design. In this design, the researcher selects 3 group populations, where 2 of them are the control group and 1 the experimental group. In the control groups, these groups are made to see the effects of the variables. However, in this design, we have 2 control groups. One group, we do not do the before observation, while in the other group, we do the before and after observation. It is to control the variables that exist, so we can realize about the variable which depends of the instrument. And in the experimental group, this group is exposed to the intervention, and also this group we do the before and after observation.
Yes. So here we were discussing with Lucas about this. the double control group, remember that these experimental designs are trying to control variables. Yes, so they try to control everything that can affect the results. So that is why they, so on the one step that Genesis was explaining is just one control group. So there I will have certain results just because I have only one control group and one experimental group. But here with two control groups, I can manipulate those variables and the instrument, as Lucas was saying. Entonces, este tipo de experimento trata de controlar las variables que son extrañas al estudio, al experimento, y que pueden afectar el resultado del experimento. Y por ejemplo, una de esas variables es el instrumento. Por eso es que existen estos tipos de double control design. Muy extraño, muy técnico toda esta organización, muy difícil de implementar. Yo le daba un ejemplo a Lucas sobre los exámenes estandarizados, por ejemplo. Entonces nosotros queremos tener el resultado limpio, perfecto, que no es posible del todo, pero la investigación cuantitativa trata de llegar a esos niveles de pureza de resultado. En el impacto, con el impacto, digamos, de una intervención. Pero tenemos una variable que se extraña, que es el instrumento que usamos para evaluar. Y eso puede traernos, puede cambiar esos resultados finales. Es por eso que se hacen estos tipos de doble control, diseños de doble control. Muy difíciles en educación, más complejos que los anteriores que hemos estado viendo. Necesitamos otro control group, más personal trabajando. Se ve en pocas situaciones, como por ejemplo el efecto de los exámenes, ¿sí? O sea, la intervención tiene un cierto impacto en los estudiantes, pero ¿cuáles son los efectos de la intervención en sí y cuáles son los efectos del instrumento con que se evalúa? Ahí sería esa división, ¿verdad? Y podríamos tener entonces un resultado más puro acerca de lo que es solamente la intervención y no el instrumento con el que se mide. Pero como decimos, es algo demasiado específico, demasiado técnico y complejo de llevar a cabo. So now my question, could you do in education any of these two experiments, the control group and the double control group? Would you do it for your research studies?
In education, it's so difficult to use these designs. As in our research, we use qualitative designs.
Yes, qualitative, yes. But if you think in education, yes, as Genesis is saying, you need, for example, money from the state, Fondesit, for example, grant, ¿sí? Estas subvenciones del Estado como Fondesit para llevar a cabo, para tener un gran grupo, un gran equipo de investigación que nos ayude a reclutar a estos estudiantes, a dividirlos en grupos aleatorios, y llevar todo este proceso, ¿verdad? Del before observation sí, before observation no, la intervención y luego el after observation, y entonces sí, es más, como mucho más costoso de realizar, por cierto, no para investigadores nobles, ¿verdad? O que no hayan tenido antes este tipo de experiencias. Se necesita mucha experiencia, mucha logística, mucho apoyo, mucho dinero también. Depende del dinero con el que contamos. Okay, so Genesis is saying something about the future, so they are more concentrated on a qualitative research design. Okay, let us check.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk about quantitative design and putting focus on narrative research. It's important to recognize that it is centered, it is focused on the experiences of the individuals. And this is a type of qualitative design. Here, the researcher will make an interview with the people that he wants to know, and he will write their stories in a chronological way. So let's imagine that the researcher wants to know about the how is a normal day in the teacher's lives. So he will meet a real teacher and he will write in order the experiences of the teacher. For example, at 7 o'clock he wake up, then he take a shower, and like this. So the important the meaningful of this design is the experiences of the individuals.
And the stories,
yeah,
based.
the stories, because the objective of this design is to know about some group of people.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything is related to interviews and writing their experiences.
Yes, and how people experience and how they tell the stories.
Yes, and the emotions and the feelings are important.
Yeah.
So this is a type of qualitative research that we could use on education.
Yes, for example, which stories will you collect?
For example, I don't know, we could make an interview about how do teachers feel when they are giving the evaluation of teachers, like we will know like END.
Yes, the experience by of yes, preparing and sitting for that evaluation.
Yes. So the teachers will talk about this test, this exam, and they will talk about how they did felt, how they felt. Yes, during the exam.
Yes, experience. Okay, yes. And then we will be able to analyze, for example, chronological order is a way in which people can organize their narratives, and I can study that. Or I can analyze also the participants in a story. So there are different kinds of analysis I can do of stories. The important thing is that people tell stories all the time, and we're focusing on analyzing those stories. So it's perfect for, as Griselda is saying, for teachers to tell their stories on some event, on some issue, or about their lives, or how they decided to become teachers. Narrative research is really useful when participants are ready to tell extensive stories about their lives, about their experiences on something. So it's great, for example, teachers' experiences during the pandemic by means of telling their stories. Yes. Okay. Yes. This is a great application. So think of your studies. Think of your studies. Will you be able? Will you be willing to collect people's stories on some issue, on their lives, on their development as teachers, for example, their experiences during the pandemic? And we will need to follow specific kinds of analysis, whether they tell stories in chronological order. That has happened in other research. For example, the teachers start telling about their history, yes, their personal story. So I started teaching in this time, and then I moved from this to another school. So teachers refer a lot to their chronological, in chronological order to their history as teachers. Yeah, their personal stories within that.
The people who is selected in narrative research should be talkative to be an
Yes.
accord. Yes, if you will say yes, not.
No.
Those aren't answers, good answers.
No, open questions, and then gives participants lots of opportunities to speak. Yes, excellent. So think for if this is applicable to your studies as well. So in order to see your own research project, Genesis, Lucas, Zelda, what do you think? Would this be a good research design?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so keep thinking. You will have to answer my question. Okay, conclusion.
As a conclusion, we think that it is important to define the type of research design that we will use in our research in order to be clear about the results and to compare them with variable or hypothesis. And answering your question, Miss, I think that it is a good design for our research because we can write about the experiences that teacher had when they begin to use the ICT.
Yes, and moreover, thinking of your population, since you think of people who have had histories, and one of the sub-research designs within narrative is life histories. It is in Creswell as well, las historias de vida. So this is very, very pervasive. I use that word again, o sea, muy aplicable, muy aplicable a la vida de profesores. ¿Sí? Aquellos profesores que tienen mucha experiencia, mucha vida recorrida, pueden referirse a su experiencia en forma de historias de vida. And so that's a very interesting design in which you can see the different events that have happened in their lives, chronological, as Liselda was showing, in a very simple example, but with other events, and show their progress along life, along the profession. So think of that. That's a very interesting design, and you can discover many things related to the different events, their progress along the profession, their learning process. So you can have lots of insights into their lives. Yes. Okay. So also for all of you who would like to collect stories. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. So that is, as I said, valuable in cases you would like to, as I said, you would need to focus on the experiences of populations, yes? It's much more useful with adults than with children. Children will tell probably the stories of children will be completely different. That's also a population to explore. But with teachers who have had certain seniority in the profession, it can be very interesting. Okay, wonderful. So think about it. And also all the groups need to think about that. Okay, so okay. So since Daniela could not connect, does anyone offer to provide feedback to Liselda, Lucas, and Genesis? Barbara?
Yes, with Javiera could
you could
make,
offer this feedback.
Yeah, for the feedback.
Thank
So no, nothing.
No, it's okay. Okay. So Alejandra, are you there? Because I see you have problems with connection. Alejandra, Eileen, are you there? Ah, okay, yes, I can see.
Yes, Miss, I'm here.
Okay. So would you like to continue?
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
but we don't have a PPT, we have the visual display.
Okay, perfect. Visual display, excellent.
Yes, okay.
And Liselda, Lucas, and Genesis will offer you feedback. All right. Mhm.
Can you see?
Yes,
Yes.
Alejandra, yes.
Okay. Good morning, Miss. Good morning, classmate. Today we will present a brief summary of the chapter, the control group, that is designed below the quantitative design. And then we will present a brief summary of the ethnographic design that is belong to the qualitative design. Okay, first, the control group. In the control group, the researcher selects two population groups, that is the control groups and experimental group. In the experimental group, receives or is exposed to interventions, and the control group is not exposed to that intervention. The before observations are made on the both groups, and the experimental group is then exposed to interventions. When this assumed that intervention in the experimental group, the after observations is made in the both groups. Okay, the impact of any intervention is equal to the difference in the before and after observations, and is depend of variables between the experimental and control groups.
Yes.
And in the double control design, there are two groups instead of one, and to quantify the effect an instrument is excluded one of the control groups from the before observations.
Yes, exactly. Well, we explained already. Yes, ya habíamos explicado acerca del control group
Yes.
y el double control group. Yes. That's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, we talk about the ethnographic research. And what is ethnographic focus on is in research is interesting in study patterns that share a culture through observation and interviews. Ethnographic is a qualitative design in which the researcher describes and interprets, share and learn patterns of a culture. And the ethnography begins in a cultural anthropology, since many 20th century anthropologists had the traditional scientific approaches through the collection of first-hand data regarding primitive cultures, and later it was adopted to the study of groups. Exist different types of ethnographic. There are many forms. For example, confessional ethnographic, life story, autoethnographic, feminist ethnography, ethnographic novels, and visual ethnography found in the photography and video and electronic media. However, it is emphasized in two types, realistic ethnographic and critical ethnographic. The first one, it gives an objective description of the situation in third person about what is learned from the participants. And the critical, the authors advocate the emancipation of marginalized groups in the society.
Yes, excellent.
And the procedures for continuing an ethnographic, the procedures for conducting an ethnographic, as all qualitative research does not have one only procedure. However, the grids provide some guidelines, such as determine
if the ethnography is appropriate, if there is support in the literature, not being familiar with the group, and having key informants in the group.
Having key
And the challenge for ethnography, it requires time in the field, is a long process, and it takes anthropological understanding and literary approach and sensitivity to the investigative group.
Yes, excellent, Eileen. So can you go up a little bit? Yes, ethnography is a more complex kind of research.
Yes.
Yes, it needs, as Eileen says, a lot of time dedicated in the setting, a lot of time dedicated to the setting in which we are doing our investigation. It can be a grade, as I explained to you already, it can be a school or an institution. It can be also the College of Education, a university, different kinds of settings.
Yes.
And that means we really need to have time to dedicate to participating actively in this culture, because this is a study of a culture, yes, and the exchanges of artifacts, instruments, communication within that community, within that culture. So it is interesting, all of this, yes, the types of ethnography, because you can have a kind of life history, so a kind of personal narrative that we were talking about in narrative research, or an auto-ethnography is another way of conducting an ethnography, but that is about ourselves. Yes, it's not about this setting in which I can be investigating, but it's about myself, my positioning within the culture, and my experiences. And then, of course, you have the feminist lines, which refer to the view of underserved or underrepresented populations, critical populations, populations that do not usually appear in research. So that was interesting. Also, the critical ethnography, in which authors advocate some kind of change in this population in which they are living. So we can talk, mostly we talk about populations that are in risk, in jail or in hospital, sick, population of people who are sick or who are marginalized by any situation. And therefore there is this kind of critical type of approach in which we try to provide some kind of change for those populations. Okay, so having heard about these characteristics, do you think your study will fit into this type of research, Alejandra, Eileen?
Yes, we think that is about our research thinking, because it's talk about a cultural group.
Yes. So do you think it's applicable to your research project, Alejandra?
Yes.
Applicable? So if you work with a group, yes, with a group with a certain culture, you could do an ethnographic research, or probably also an auto-ethnographic research, when the research, as I said, focuses on the individual researcher who is involved in an experience, in a culture, in a certain situation, by means of reflection on those elements. So think again of your own research studies. Think of the availability of studying a group that is outside us, so that we as outside researchers go to school, go to a classroom for a long period of time and collecting all that data. So think on the availability of conducting this ethnography. Or if it is an auto-ethnography, it can be more focused on our own stories and our own experiences and our own positioning in that culture. Entonces, para prestar atención a la etnografía tenemos esta dicotomía, o sea, la etnografía clásica requiere participación en el sitio, en la cultura que estoy estudiando y la interacción con todos los miembros de esa cultura. Y también con sus artefactos, con sus productos, con sus medios de comunicación y demás. Eso por un lado, la etnografía llevaba mucho tiempo originariamente, los antropólogos visitaban pueblos y vivían con ellos durante años, por lo tanto viene de esa tradición de mucho trabajo, de mucho tiempo pasado con la población que se estudiaba. Luego eso fue cambiando, fue evolucionando con el tiempo, se transfirió a la educación y, por ejemplo, se hacen etnografías con un grado, una profesora y los estudiantes y las relaciones que se establecen allí. Eso también lleva tiempo. Observación, recolección de datos de observación, de artefactos, de productos, de entrevistas, historias y demás. De ahí se evolucionó hacia la autoetnografía y hoy en día se hace mucha autoetnografía focalizando las propias experiencias del individuo en una cultura, o sea, ya no estudiando el investigador a la cultura hacia afuera, sino investigando su propia realidad cultural, experiencial y su propio posicionamiento. La autoetnografía ha ido ganando más y más espacio a través de la reflexión y se hacen autoetnografías de muchos distintos temas. Estudiantes que hacen tesis de doctorado sobre sus propias experiencias de vida, su inclusión en alguna cultura específica y demás historias que se pueden ir entrelazando, ¿verdad? Entre la historia personal, el life history, ¿sí? Las historias de vida, y la participación en una cultura. Ok. Entonces, ¿algún grupo? Thank you, girls. Is there any group who would like to do ethnographic research in your studies? So you need to answer, yes? After the presentations, you will have some time to discuss in your groups so that you can answer those questions. Okay, thank you. And last but not least, Araceli.
Yes, miss.
Okay, thank you.
Abby,
Sorry.
can you share?
Liselda will offer, Liselda, Lucas, and Genesis will offer feedback to Alejandra and Eileen, and Alejandra and Eileen to Araceli, Javiera, and Kate.
Okay, miss.
All right.
I can see the screen or not?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Oh no.
I like.
No se agranda.
And yes, okay. Calm down.
Ay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone, Miss and classmates. We are Araceli Aguilera, Javiera Garcia, and Ilvas Malta, and we are to present quantitative and qualitative research design.
Okay, the topic we will talk in this presentation is introduction, quantitative research design, and qualitative research design. Okay, in our presentation, we will talk about the quantitative and qualitative research, different characteristics, and research design. First, we will present the after-only design and the before and after experimental design, corresponding to quantitative studies. Later, we will see phenomenological research and its topic types, corresponding to qualitative research.
Quantitative research design. What is quantitative research? Quantitative research is a research method that use mathematical and statistical analysis tools to describe, explain, and predict phenomena using numerical data. Quantitative research offers numerical values based on samples. Large number of people are interviewed and a large amount of data is collected. The collection of numerical values allows to measure the frequency of a phenomenon and observe real conditions.
Okay, here you can see the first step about quantitative research. The first topic is the after-only experimental design. First, what is this? In an after-only design, the researcher knows that a population is being or has been exposed to an intervention and wishes to study its impact on the population. In other words, the purpose is to study the impact that an intervention has had on a specific study group. Some characteristics of this research design are: number one, information about the baseline before the test is constructed from the respondent's memory of the situation. This is done before the intervention. The important thing here is to collect data from the response about a specific situation that they have experienced, and it is the first step before the intervention. Number two, the intervention is then introduced, focused on the study population, and data is collected after observation. In summary, the intervention is applied and the study population is observed. Number three, the change in the depend variable is measured by the difference between the data from before baseline and the data obtained after the intervention has already been introduced, being the purpose of evaluating this research design.
It's only after only.
Some disadvantage of this research design are: this design is not very effective in measuring the impact of an intervention, as there are no very robust baseline data to compare subsequent observations. Yes, since they must compare the information obtained after the intervention with the memories of the participants. And number five, another problem is that the total change, including the change caused by external variable, is measured.
Yes. Claro, esto es un, this is a design that is like faulty, tiene como una falla, porque no tenemos el before, no tenemos el estado basal, la recolección de los datos de cómo estaba antes de la intervención, la situación con los estudiantes, si fuera que estamos trabajando con estudiantes, y por lo tanto no podemos saber exactamente cuál es el impacto de la intervención, exactamente. Entonces, por eso es como que queda fallado este experimental design. Es como un poco, me falta eso. Siendo que, como habíamos dicho al principio, temprano, estamos controlando todas las variables. ¿Sí? Y por lo tanto, aquí hay la influencia de variables externas y por lo tanto, no se puede decir a ciencia cierta si el impacto se refiere solo a la intervención o también a otras variables que no se pueden controlar. Recuerden, la investigación cualitativa y experimental quiere controlar todas las variables para tener el exacto resultado de esa intervención. Ok, Araceli, thank you.
The effectiveness in part of this design depends on having acquired data before introducing the intervention. For example, in a study of different impacts, such as the impact of breathalyzer test on traffic accident, the impact of the health program on the mortality of a population, the impact of the advertisement on the sale of a product, or the impact of a decrease in mortality on fertility of a population. Or other example is the impact of a change in immigration policy on the extent of immigration.
Yes, all of those are after only experimental designs. Yes, because we can only measure the after, yes, the after, the impact, but only with the after situation. We do not know the before. The same we do in education in many occasions. For example, standardized testing only tests the results after. Yes, after there has been certain intervention and they are testing that impact, but we do not know probably the before. Sí, las pruebas PISA, por ejemplo, son tomadas solamente como after only experimental design. Muchas de estas pruebas no toman una prueba anterior, luego existe una intervención y entonces tomo la otra muestra después, ¿verdad? Entonces, todo eso son after only experimental design. Yes. Okay.
Continue. As a summary, here you can see a graphic organizer summarizing what the after only designing is. Here we observe the contraction of the baseline. Then there is the baseline before the observation. Here, prior data about the study population must be recorded and collected. And then the intervention is applied to the study population and observe and collect data.
Yes, to collect data after, yes. Yes, the after only. Yes, exactly. Este no es un experimento tan controlado, ¿sí? Recuerden que los experimental designs están tratando de controlar todas las variables. Entonces, por ejemplo, la prueba PISA, se pueden recolectar observaciones acerca de cómo era el estado al comienzo de año de los estudiantes, por ejemplo, con información que se puede recabar, pero luego la prueba está concentrada en cuando se toma esa prueba y los resultados de esa prueba, que es generalmente en septiembre, octubre. Por lo tanto, ha habido un periodo de intervención a lo largo del año, pero no tenemos exactamente la correlación, cómo era antes y cómo era después el resultado. ¿Ok? Solamente vemos el after only. Yes. Y eso es lo que se estudia y se tabula y se da como resultado. Okay, excellent. Do you think it is applicable? So keep on thinking, yes, if it is applicable to your research design. Okay, next.
Okay, the before and after experimental design. This design takes care of only one process of intervention. That is, this process is for comparing the observation the before and after of intervention. This does not yet allow a correct result about the partial or total change that occur in this intervention. The impact of the intervention of the before and after design is calculated as a following formula. And this is the formula the author calculate the intervention
The result, yes.
Yes.
Es lo que decíamos ayer. A veces es una correlación 1 a 1, Javiera, ¿sí? O sea, Javiera tenía este resultado en el before y este resultado en el after, ¿sí? Entonces se hace esa ecuación sobre cómo estaba antes, cómo está ahora y se hace ese resultado. Entonces ese es el efecto de esa intervención. Bien, eso es bien numérico.
And this summary is the organize of the process, the before after design in the intervention, the chain and post observation, the program period, and same of the author design, use the baseline.
De baselines, claro, o sea, aquí se toma una muestra, claro, se hace literal, ¿sí? Yo tomo un diagnóstico y digo, Javiera, Araceli, Kate, tienen este resultado en el before, y luego se hace la intervención y se mide cuánto tiene Kate, Araceli, Javiera en el after. Y se hace esa directo relación de ese impacto. Yeah,
yes, in this part is the before and this is the after.
After, yes, the before and after. Este era el tipo de, que yo les contaba, el tipo de datos que juntaban nuestros estudiantes en Estados Unidos, yendo a hacer las prácticas. Uno de los datos que juntaban era este, ¿sí? Un before, ¿sí? Un test before, una intervención, enseñar algo, y un test after, y se juntaban esos datos. Y luego se juntaban datos cualitativos también. Ok, perfect. Esto es, este es más doable, los profesores hacen mucho esto, está más presente en la educación, no es exactamente un sistema que sigue un protocolo de experimentación muy estrictos. Los profesores mismos pueden hacer esto y tener sus datos, ¿sí? Toda esta lista de estudiantes tiene estos resultados en el before y todo esto en el after. Y hacer directamente la relación entre uno y otro. Okay, so you need to think now if that is applicable to your research design. Yeah, okay, everyone is thinking. Okay, thank you, Javiera. Qualitative.
Qualitative research design. Qualitative research is a set of research techniques used to gain an overview of people's behavior and perception on a particular topic. It aims to describe and analyze the culture and behavior of human beings and their groups from the perspective of the researcher. It's based on a flexible and interactive research strategy. It's a more descriptive research method that focuses on the interpretations, experiences, and their meaning. This uses methods such as observation, interview, and discussions in focus groups or an inside community.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and the
phenomenological
study is the type of this design. This study describes the common meaning that a lived experience of a similar phenomenon yes, has a several individuals. In addition, the focus describing all participants have in common experience different phenomena. Such as, for example, insomnia, study of anger, pain, or heavy
surgery. Yeah.
Yes, and this is the phenomenon.
Phenomenon, yes. And the people describe that phenomenon.
Yes, and the same field in this situation.
Yeah.
Types of phenomenology. There are two types of phenomenology. Nautical phenomenology of Van Manen in 1990s and Transcendent or Psychological Empirical Phenomenology by Moustaka in 1994. Hermeneutical phenomenology is defined as research that is based on the situations and or experiences that people have lived. Van Manen mentions that phenomenology doesn't deal with methods, but rather with research steps. Researchers identify a phenomenon, reflect on the important points of this phenomenon, and make a description about it.
Yes, so hermeneutical means in reference to explanation. So this phenomenology tries to give an interpretation of this phenomenon, yes? So that is why it is called hermeneutical. It's the interpretation of the experience.
Yes. And empirical transcendent or psychological phenomenology is based on the descriptions that participants make of their situations or experiences, and it's not necessarily centered on the interpretations that researchers give. In this research method, researchers don't take their experiences into account to obtain new insights about the situations under investigation.
Yes, it's more, it means more separated from, so trying to describe, more descriptive, more than interpretative. Descriptive of participants and their experiences of that situation, but not interpretive. ¿Sí? Esta es más descriptiva, la otra es más interpretativa. All right. Thank you. Okay, so now the question, the question for you. So have you thought of any example where could you apply a phenomenological study design to your study? Araceli, Javiera, and Kate? What do you think?
I think yes, it is possible use in our study.
Yes.
Because the study we begin is about the use of a material in the class, and this material producing in the students change your feel.
A change.
Yes. In use this material.
In the use of the material.
Yes.
So there is an experience.
Yes.
You can say that they are undergoing by so all of these are phenomenon. Yes, it's a phenomenon.
Yes.
So human beings go through life by experiencing different phenomena. Yes, whether more striking, like for example, anger or surgery or shooting. Yes, that can be one phenomenon, or the pandemic also in education, but other phenomena have to do also with special programs being implemented. For example, in your cases, you are at a special school with a particular program, and therefore that can also account for the experiences that teachers have with that program. Yes, so it is possible. My dissertation, my doctoral dissertation was a phenomenology on the experiences of students, of teacher candidates like you, attending TESOL courses, because not all of the teacher candidates attended all of the TESOL courses. So it was a specific phenomenon that was experimented by some teacher candidates. And so how different was, no, I was not comparing with other experiences, but just trying to describe and interpret that experience. Yes, I did a hermeneutic. Yes, this one, the hermeneutic phenomenology, trying to explain that experience in which they learned about working with English learners and also practiced in schools this phenomenon of teaching English learners and observing teachers teach English learners. And so it opens lots of doors to personal experiences, history, life histories as well, because they also taught about their own experiences as English learners or their families coming from other countries and being English learners at a certain point. So the richness of this kind of research is invaluable. You do not really know what you're going to find, and you can find much more than you expect or you ask in your questions. So it's really very insightful, and you can really come to lots of conclusions and discoveries. Okay, so each group now, thank you girls, thank you, great presentations, and you keep us thinking. Each group will now be able to meet for at least 10 minutes until 11:30, but let me share with you what you need to be able to report. So on the one hand, the question I asked you last week and at the beginning today. So groups that have decided on a qualitative research design, tell why, explain why you decide. Did you decide to conduct a qualitative study? Yes, so for example, the case of Lucas, Lisel, and Genesis, they are very sure. Why is it a qualitative study? Yes, why? And if you decided to do it like history research or a phenomenology, also why? Why is that applicable? If you decided on a quantitative, on an experimental design, also be able to tell why. And how are you going to explain that? So following Creswell, the same book author you were working with, he has a frame sentences, sentence frames, to help you write and speak about this decision. So the purpose, so this will be your purpose statement. Yes, purpose statement. So you're going to report about this today. Yes, so you keep on working before we leave. So the sentence frame, the purpose of this, and you tell me there if it is qualitative, quantitative, phenomenological, ethnographic, life history. Yes, oh, sorry. So this study, yes, study of this study, but you right in the middle is qualitative, phenomenological, quantitative, experimental, after or before and after study, is or will be, yes, the purpose will be, we will talk in the future, two, will be two, and we need the verbs. What are we going to do? Yes, possible verbs. Remember, we need to write this, also always be rewriting our abstract. Two, which possible verbs do you have? Two, what did we say now? Understand. What else can you do with your research? We just said in the phenomenology, what do you want, what can you do with the phenomenology? One example, the hermeneutic is to, what did I tell you? Que era una... Interpret. Yes, excellent, wonderful. So to interpret, yes, an experience. To also you can describe, yes, explore. Remember, qualitative research has a lot of these verbs. So you understand, you interpret, you describe, or you explore an issue. And if it is quantitative, to measure, ¿qué más hace? Se mide, to measure the impact, or to measure, yes, to know how big, to know the effects. Remember, always thinking of effects, impact, yes. So you need to choose the correct verb. If not, if you're unsure, then we can work on that, yes. to describe, okay, to describe, to interpret, to measure, yes, a central phenomenon. A central phenomenon, yes, or central problem, yes, that you are discussing in your group, in your study. For who will be the participants? For teachers, students, participants that you think, participants, or school authorities, myself, yo mismo, puedo ser mi participante. At, y el lugar, yes, the site. It could be school in Longaví, in the city, in a place, yes, in a city, in the countryside, okay? So this you should be able to do now, yes? So we will meet again at 11:35, 11:35, y cada grupo va a reportar ese breve párrafo. Yes, so the purpose of this qualitative, so in my case, my dissertation, for example, yes, I will tell you my dissertation. The purpose of this qualitative hermeneutic phenomenological study was, because it's the past, yes, was to interpret the experiences with skills and strategies development to work with English learners, yes, that teacher candidates attending a unique TESOL class in a teacher education program had. Yes, so that was my purpose statement. Yes, el propósito era de un estudio fenomenológico hermenéutico era interpretar las experiencias de los estudiantes en un curso de TESOL, único, era un curso único de TESOL, ¿sí? En un programa de formación de profesores. Okay, so very easy, like that. Yes, 5 seconds. So,
Means we have to think only about
your research. Yes, in your research design. So do you have the paragraph short in the chat? Yes? Okay,
yes,
so your group, your research design, if you need more time, okay, whatever verb, if you don't find the exact verb, we can work on it. Do not, but try to think the verb, yes, and the participants and the place, yes, the site. El lugar en donde es school, in the city, in the countryside. Araceli. Araceli. Okay. Kate. Okay, so I move you and you will be working. Araceli. All right. Okay. All right. Oh, Barbara, sorry, but I will talk to you in a minute. Okay, so 10 minutes. All right. On the screen, the short paragraph. Yes, this paragraph is useful for us to restart our projects, to express the initial section of an abstract, for example. So this is very useful. These are very useful words. Okay, so who would like to start? Anyone? Any group? Doesn't have to be perfect. We still have to continue working. Yes. So, but this is the beginning, like the beginning sentence of the project.
Okay, Miss, we can do it.
Come on. So final, everyone needs to say something before we finish.
Miss, can you hear me well?
Liselda. Do you have anything written or do you prefer to read from here?
Miss, can you
Iselda?
hear me?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
teacher.
Okay, okay, now I hear you. Okay, so Liselda, would you have something to show or you prefer to read from here?
I will read it.
Okay, read it, please.
Okay. The purpose of this narrative design study will be to understand the teachers' experiences using ICT in their classes for teachers at rural area in Longaví.
Perfect, excellent. So copy that in your project. So that's an addition to your project from this today, today's presentations. Okay, thank you very much. Next one, Araceli.
Yes, teacher. Have you shared the screen?
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
I go. Oh,
Wonderful.
okay. You see the screen?
It's sharing.
Okay.
It is sharing.
One moment.
Yes.
Now?
Yes, yes, yes. We can
Yes.
see.
Okay. The purpose of this hermeneutical phenomenology study will be the interpretive experience using concrete material for teachers and students in a rural area school, called Hernán Lobos area in subject mathematics 1st and 2nd grade.
In mathematics in 1st and 2nd grade. Excellent. Wonderful. Wonderful. Marvelous. Perfect. I
Thank
love
you,
it.
teacher.
You see, it's easy. You make it complicated sometimes, but it's easy. It's great. Great, great. We have something done today. Eileen? So it's simple, really. It's what we can still develop. Yes, and probably, but be open, but qualitative research has that flexibility, okay? But we will keep on working. Yes, Eileen, even if it is short.
The purpose of this qualitative case study was to understand and investigate the hybrid modality for teachers currently working in rural schools.
Will be. Yeah, I will change to the future. Will be. Excellent. Excellent. A case study. Wonderful. I love it. Moreover, in that bibliography that you have a lot of information on how to give shape to those studies, to study designs, yes, to narrative, to phenomenology, to case study. Yes, excellent. And Barbara? So you have all of the possibilities at hand, yes, and you have the materials, the bibliography, so it's easy to keep on working. I don't know whether Barbara is on. Barbara? Probably she's not.
Miss, she went.
Okay, okay. So wonderful, wonderful. Anyway, we will keep on working. This is the takeaway today. So we have been reading and working, but it's just with a purpose, yes, to think, to put into words, what is it that we want to do? And so always remember, we will be working on this. Yes, this is not final, but it's a step forward. And if we need to probably change something, we are still able to do so. Okay, so something you learned a lot. You learned a lot about research design, but most importantly, I think you could think of your own studies and think what is important and central in your own studies, in your own projects. So I think that is a great takeaway. And so please keep on thinking, keep on working. From now on, it will be whatever you decide and you decide to stick to that, from now on, it's just keep adding details and elements to that research study and to that research design. Okay, so next class will be on Wednesday, the 6th of October. And what you need to do is to upload. So our agreements include upload, yes, your presentations to the forum, to forum 3 that will be created on Educandos on week 6. Week 6, this week. Also remember to upload there, answer to your classmates, comment, and also upload your peer formative evaluation to the group. You were providing this, yes, upload your peer observation and formative evaluation document to the corresponding group. In the same forum, so we use the same forum for all of these materials. Upload is the opposite organization. To the corresponding groups. Corresponding groups, and please check your participation in previous forums. Forum 1 was created new, so there you have to upload your preliminary abstract. Yes, so check your participation since you have a high level, so a high percentage of work in those tasks on Educandos. So please check your participation in online activities. Yes, forums, or if I ask you about any task, we haven't done tasks. Yes, and probably we are not going to do tasks. We're going to work, present some conclusions and work on our project. So that is your great task. But please keep participating in the other activities you are invited to participate to. Yes. Check your participation in online activities on Educandos. And there we have forum 1 and 2. And 2, yes. Is there anything else we need to agree? I think. Please dedicate this week, since you don't have anything extra to do, to read, please dedicate to completing your participation in the online activities. And next week, we will keep on working with the project and with action research, another type of design. Okay, are we clear? Do we need any other clarification, questions and answers? Hello, people? Can you hear me? Do you have any questions and answers? Or
teacher.
No questions.
No questions. Okay, so thank you for attending. Great work, great presentations, and you made one step. So you take this introduction to your projects, and we keep on working from there. Okay. Yes. Are we clear?
Yes, me.
Okay, so see you next Wednesday, early morning. Friday, because of the integrated evaluation. Okay, big kiss, everyone. Take care.
You, me.
Bye, Miss.
Bye-bye. See you.
See you.